Kia ora everybody, my name is Maxine Rennie. I'm part of Ngāti Whakaue tribe in Rotorua. My waka is Te Arawa. I live on Te Papaeuru Marae, where several generations of my family have lived. And I had 10 years experience of being the lead facilitator for restorative justice in Rotorua before I retired in 2007. But since then, I have worked in the community to look at various ways we could bring restorative justice into the community and help families that were really looking for that sort of assistance. Before I start, I've written that many pieces of notes from everybody's speeches, but I need to address one of the things that were raised earlier was about the language around domestic violence. For 4 years, I was with the whānau reference group with the Families Commission, and Māori researchers had looked at the literature being used around domestic violence. One of the things they looked at and discussed was the words family/whānau are used prolifically by different ministries. The definition of family is the nuclear unit, usually of a parent or parents with children. Whānau is made up of multiple relationships and they cannot be fitted into the word family. So family and whānau are two totally different entities of people. Similarly, family violence and whānau violence are different because of that aspect. So that was one of the two language ones that I could see that were a bit different. As well, they looked at the words family violence, or whānau violence really, is seen as an attack on whakapapa. If you hit a Māori woman, who are you hitting? We have whakapapa. We whakapapa to our mothers, to our grandmothers, to our great-grandmothers and further back. So that was seen, whānau violence was seen as an attack on whakapapa. But tikanga for us, which is the customs and the values that we use, contains the protective factors which were in the past provided to protect our women and children. And if you're going to work with whānau, you need to know that Māori are collective people. The sacred thread that binds all of us is whakapapa. So you need to work with the whole whānau. It's a whānau response to whānau violence. You have a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. For Māori providers, such as kaitoko whānau, whānau order, some of the e2 whānau values, look at the word village for Māori providers means Māori providers and includes the extended whānau, plus iwi and hapu. The iwi and the hapu and the extended whānau members may hold the cultural knowledge that's required of the protective factors around the tikanga and the values that we need to keep pushing now to support, to educate and to reclaim the values to keep our people safe. Māori condemn the use of whānau violence. It violates tikanga and values, and those are the rules and customs that define acceptable and appropriate behaviour. Restorative justice is a process that lends itself to the collective cultural practice of old that we used. So restorative justice is really a very appropriate way of working with whānau in regards to whānau violence. So those were my scribbled notes from different speakers that we had this morning. In Rotorua today, we look at A lot of our Māori providers are using restorative whānau conferencing, and that's where whānau are looking for help about their relationships that are in trouble, relationships with the children. It's about bringing the widest group of whānau together, bringing kaumātua and queer together to support them, and to lay out all the factors that are needing to be addressed. Usually it's a facilitated process, so somebody is there to help and guide them to make sure there's order. This is voluntary, this is not a court referral. So they look at what are the issues, what do they need to do, and what are the actions that need to be taken, and who will do them. It's about restoring the balance and harmony to their homes. We're also looking at, in Rotorua, we're looking at an iwi-driven plan for reducing Māori victimisation, utilising the protective factors that we've had for years. But over the generations we've let go, and yet they worked. So we're reclaiming those, and we will identify those and start that process with our whānau as well. We're also discussing marae-based whānau court to deal with some of these domestic violence cases or whānau violence cases. And we see that as urgent, given that we're second in the country to Manukau for the stats on whānau violence. Tomorrow in Rotorua, we have the first meeting to establish the community justice panels. This will probably be an iwi justice panel on a marae. So that's another new use of restorative justice in the community. I'm part of the kaumātua group that sits with the Rangatahi Court in Rotorua. It's the youth court. We have a judge that sits on the marae. The total protocols of that youth court are in Māori tikanga. From the time the families and the young offenders walk onto the marae, they're given the full protocol of Māori. For a lot of these young ones, they have never been on a marae before, and their families. They are disconnected, so this is one way of reconnecting these young ones and their families back to their culture. The kaumātua are on the panel, on the table with the judge, and they sit and listen to what these young people are going through, what they've done, what they want to achieve, and the kaumātua then add words of encouragement. They can connect these young ones to their predecessors, to other family members that have done well, that have achieved, just to encourage them to keep going and to keep trying to find the right path. So the kaumātua are there to add words of wisdom and encouragement to young offenders. I've got that much written down, I don't know what I've said now. I'm going to talk about the protective factors for victimisation plans. I mean, when we look at tikanga, we use aroha, mana, manaaki, whakawhanaungatanga, whakapapa, a whole lot of words that are values for us. And what we see is the protective factors in those for whānau about ensuring families have safe and respectful relationships between the parents. We're looking at children being enrolled in early childhood education, kohanga reo. We want them to have strong cultural identities. We want them to respect their elders, ask for help when they're not coping with their children, ask for help when their relationships are in problem, stay connected and caring with other whānau members, and that can be part of collective networks within sports, social networks. It's also about really talking down the use of drugs and alcohol because they figure so prominently in most of the domestic violence cases that we see. We would promote eating and saying karakia together. There seems to be a spiritual poverty amongst a lot of our whānau. They don't know what to believe in. They're so busy trying to survive. So those are a few of the protective factors that we're looking at. We're also looking at what is already in that space for victims. And one of the things we're looking at that the police might like to think about is we're looking at whawars and we're looking at PSOs, which are the police safety orders. For Māori, the intervention is crucial. Whawars doesn't have enough oomph in its intervention. People are just rung and asked how they're going. And then in 2 weeks' time, they've rung in again. Another episode, is that what that's called? Yeah. So, and the police safety orders allows that where there is a serious threat or where there has been an incident of violence, the offender is asked to leave the premises, even if he owns the house or she owns the house. Often they're back within 3 days, but nobody sorted anything out. Then we have a breach of a police safety order. And I think I've talked to the judge about what we're going to do about police safety orders, because to me, if they breach a police safety order, they should be referred to, if they're Māori, referred to a Māori service provider to have a look at what are the issues going on in that family before it gets worse. Now that's my contribution for the day. Thank you very much.